Welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast
with our mom,
Misty Bailey. Tips and encouragement
for
real-life homeschooling
is headed your way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. Today is episode 14, and it is another Fess Up Friday interview. Today, I am chatting with my dear friend, Colleen Kessler from Raising Lifelong Learners. I met Colleen a couple years ago at the 2-to-1 conference, and let me just tell you that some people that you meet online are not always the same as they are in person, but Colleen is. She is just such a breath of fresh air, and she is full of energy for such a teeny tiny person. And I'm super excited to interview her today because let me tell you that one of the things I absolutely love about Colleen is behind the scenes of her blog and in blogging groups and all of that. The thing that she's constantly telling us is to be ourselves, to be the mom that we are and the mom that we were meant to be. And that, you know, God gave our kids the mom that they needed, and that we cannot do our job any better than what we are already doing. And I love that about her because she reminds me, and she says the same thing with our blogs, you know, be you, be the blogger that you are and not the blogger that you see somewhere else online, you know, be you. And that is something that has always stuck out with me about Colleen, and just something that I just absolutely love about her, because I leave her feeling better about myself and feeling more confident in my own abilities. And I play a lot less of the comparison game after I have spent time with her. So I am super excited to share this interview with you. And I know that you are all going to fall in love with Colleen. So without further ado, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. Today is a Fess Up Friday interview, and I am here with my friend, Colleen. How are you doing, Colleen?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, I am so excited to chat with you. I feel like we've not done this for a while.
No, we have not talked in a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so Colleen, can you tell everybody a little bit about you and your homeschool and your family?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I am Colleen Kessler. I run the site raisinglifelonglearners.com. I have a podcast by the same name, Facebook page by the same name. Are you sensing a theme here?
Yes.
So you can find me at Raising Lifelong Learners all over social media. I also run a Facebook support group for parents of gifted and twice exceptional kids, which was born out of kind of our own homeschooling journey. We started as sudden and unexpected, semi-reluctant, kicking and screaming kind of homeschoolers about 8 years ago. Our son, our oldest, who is now 15 and a half, was enrolled in public school, and I had left teaching. I was a gifted consultant and specialist for a long time and a public school teacher. And I had left teaching actually to freelance write for the educational market and for parents and kids. I was already writing, I was working on books and other projects, and fully expecting to freelance full-time while my kids were blissfully in school during the day, and have, you know, cookies baked for them ready when they got off the bus in the afternoon. And since things don't work out as we thought, or we plan, usually, I ended up with gifted kids of my own after fervently praying for nice average children, because gifted kids can be a little bit of a struggle. And they just weren't fitting in the school system. Trevor in particular, my oldest, is profoundly gifted, struggles with impulsivity, ADHD-like behaviors. He has what are termed overexcitabilities. He also has some sensory issues and profound anxiety. And the school was kind of a disaster for him. And we just had no other option except to pull him. And we pulled him in February of his first grade year, and decided at that point we were going to take it kid by kid, year by year. But soon into our journey, we realized that it was easier, truthfully, to have everybody in the same place then, kind of dropping one off at preschool here and one off at daycare here so I could have a babysitter come in and work a little bit. And so I cut back on my freelance hours, dove headfirst into homeschooling, and now 8.5 years in, I'm speaking at gifted and homeschooling conferences and conventions around the country. I've become kind of a staunch advocate for homeschooling differently wired kids, and particularly those who are gifted or twice exceptional. And like I said, run that Facebook support group to help other parents who, like me, find themselves trying to figure out what exactly they can do to best meet the needs of their quirky kind of kids. We have 4 kids. Trevor's 15, Molly is 10, Logan Marie is 8, and Isaac is 5. And we follow a very kind of eclectic, Charlotte Mason-y, classical, unschooly kind of homeschool, self-directed philosophy in our days, and kind of go where our passions lead us. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
I love it. And the whole unschooling thing, that is something, I swear when I first started homeschooling, I was terrified of that word. Like terrified of it. And I have found every year we homeschool, I get less and less structured.
Yeah.
It just like it naturally happens.
It does. And I think it's born out of our confidence, knowing that, we can trust the process. And I think part of that is true for me, especially because I've met so many different people in the things that I've done who have been doing it for longer than me. But I've also read so widely about just the way the brain works and the way people, not just kids, but people learn. And I know about myself as a learner, and when I want to try something new, I think that, I kind of say I've got an unschooly bent, but really I've got a self-directed learning bent where it's not like they're not doing anything. In fact, they're doing more than I could ever throw at them, because it's all self-directed. And I say that with this one caveat. There are things that I give them. It's not like I just say, what do you want to learn about? And here you go. I give them math curriculum. I give them lots and lots and lots of things that they could then use to discover curiosities and passions and things like that. So they have probably more curriculum in their home and on their shelves than most homeschoolers who follow a set curriculum, but they have the freedom to kind of pick and choose from it.
Yeah. And I have done that. Like I said, the longer I homeschool, I've been leading more into just letting the kids kind of follow their own interests, like in history and science, and just kind of letting them pick. And I think it's a journey that we go through as homeschool moms. Okay, so we are going to hop into these questions, talking all about your struggles and fears and homeschool joys. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The first question is, what is one struggle or fear you have had regarding homeschooling?
Okay, so this is hard because I go back and forth all the time with lots of different struggles and fears. The main one is, I think, what a lot of parents experience, whether they homeschool or not, is just that, am I screwing up my kids? And, I worry about that just because you never know exactly if you're totally doing the right thing. There's always so much second guessing involved in parenting anyway. And I tell people that are trying to figure out, if they want to homeschool or not, that it's not sunshine and roses always. It's not always easy. It's often fun and exciting and great and the greatest thing, but it's also often the worst thing ever because there's so much more doubt. I think that parenting's tough and homeschooling is parenting on steroids because you're now responsible for everything. And so my biggest fear is that I'm going to screw up everything. And so I also find, though, the reassuring piece is that there's always another day and we can just like scrap it all and bake cookies or go for a walk or a hike and reset. And so while that's my biggest fear and struggle, it's also, I think, the thing that keeps me most grounded, knowing that I worry about kind of something that's totally out of my control anyway. You can only give kids opportunities, right? You can't control what they do with those opportunities. So it's a fear that I'm not giving them all the opportunities, but the truth of the matter is I'm giving them opportunities. So what they do with it is up to them. And so that struggle and that fear is the thing that keeps me up at night, but it's also the thing that keeps me going every day and keeps me throwing new things in their path and reassures me that I can always do something else to try. I can always try something else because the same thing doesn't work for everybody. So I don't even know if that answers the question or it was just kind of a rambly thought, but that's kind of where I go with it.
No, I think it is. And I think encouraging them to follow their own interests while they're young gives them that confidence to pursue their passions when they're older. And I had never really thought of it until, I don't know, I guess the older my kids get, I think about it more. But I do. I think that encouraging them to follow those interests really helps them hone in on what they want to do as they get older. It helps them learn what they're really interested in and what they're not interested in. And I think homeschooling gives them that freedom to do that.
I agree. And I think that early on when I started homeschooling, I was going to teach them what they needed to know in homeschooling. They were going to get a better education because I was going to be able to get the right curriculums and expand on the knowledge they were interested in and, go through quickly the stuff they'd already gotten. But what I'm discovering more is that I don't even want that anymore. I don't want to check the boxes and I don't want to follow the course, the courses of study or the scopes and sequences. What I really, really passionately want is for my kids to know that anything they want to know is a mouse click or a library book or a streaming video or a tutorial away, that they can find the answers to anything they want or the instructions to do anything they want, or they can create the next new thing as long as they're always passionately curious and have a library card and know how to wade through the glut of information that's out there and be discerning and sift through for the stuff that is right and true and just and as inspirational and knowledge filled as possible. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the next question is, how have you overcome that struggle or fear, or how are you working on it?
So I overcome it daily and then I get it again the next day. So I guess it's a work in progress. It's really just kind of getting out of my own head and out of my own way. So it's not anything I can ever overcome because it's just bigger than that. It's kind of the fate of my kids. And so the way that I work on it is reminding myself that, number one, the process of homeschooling works. I've met too many people over the last several years who have graduated kids or are second and third generation homeschoolers to doubt that it works if you want it to work. And so that keeps me going. And then the other part of that working on it is that I pull back when I feel I need to, and we have days that we just, watch documentaries or movies and read books or listen to audiobooks or go for a hike or scrap it all. And we can always come back to the books. I told this story at a recent event we're doing this year at the Great Homeschool Conventions. We're doing a mom-to-mom panel, Pam Barnhill, Sarah McKenzie, and I, and we're just taking questions from audience members. And questions like this come up all the time, like, how do you fix a bad homeschool day? What do you do when it's kind of going downhill, or how do you know it's going to work? And I said that there's no such thing as balance, and knowing that we can scrap it all and come back to it is an important thing and an empowering thing. And I told the story of my 10-year-old who was struggling with math big time. Like it was a daily battle. And my kids, they don't fight too much about the academics because we are so loose with it. But math is the one thing that I'm like a stickler for, because number one, I'm not super strong with it. And number two, you can't really skip one section and then be able to do the next section if you don't get it. So I pushed that more than anything. And she was just melting down. And so one day I didn't take out the math for her. And then I just didn't take it out the next day or the next day. And we actually didn't do math, her and I, for almost a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of the reaction I get.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but but I knew it, like my gut told me that when she got over that angst about it, she would just get what she needed to get out of it. She's not going to be a mathematician. That particular kid is talented in musical theater and literature and writing and reading, and she's going to do something in the arts. And I know that. I also know that she has to know basic math, but I knew that it wasn't right for her heart at that moment. And we put it away. And about 6 months ago, we pulled it back out. And she's finished a full year's worth of math in less than 6 months and is already almost to where she would have been had we not put it away,
That is
because
awesome.
we just took it off her plate. And so knowing that the process worked helped me be able to put that fear of screwing her up down and do what I knew was right for her. I don't recommend everybody who's listening throw away your math curriculum for a year and a half, but you can trust that the process is eventually going to balance out and work out, so you can be a little bit more dramatic if you need to in some areas to nurture your kids' hearts.
All the homeschool math curriculum companies are like, no, Colleen.
Right. I've now killed any chance of ever getting any sponsored work with
You're
any math
blacklisted.
company.
But no, I think that's important though, because I think that, and this goes along with worrying about screwing our kids up, I think that sometimes we let that fear dominate us so much that we can sacrifice our relationship with our kids because of homeschooling, on the altar of homeschooling, because we can push them to a point where, because we're so worried about our own fears or worrying about that fear of screwing them up, that we can really ruin the relationship with our kids.
Right.
I mean, and I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And, I don't look at the future and think about, sitting around the Thanksgiving table talking about math equations. Like
Mhm.
I think about my kids coming back in 20 years with, their spouse or their kids or their boyfriends or just themselves and wanting to be with us because they want to be with us. And so the relationship has to come first.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Okay, so the next question is, what is one thing you have learned as a homeschool mom?
Um, oh goodness, I've learned so much about myself and about being a parent, but
I think we learn more than our kids.
I think we do too. But I think that that's it. I think that, just piggybacking off of what I just said and that story that I just shared, that I can trust myself and I can trust the just the relationships, because if you have those, you can have anything else. It's all going to fall into place if you have the relationships and you work on the relationships first.
Yes, that is so important. I remember when I first started homeschooling, and I look back, like we used Hooked on Phonics for reading for my first two kids, and I used it with all my daycare kids through the years too, and my niece, and I tutored kids with it. But Allison was the very first one I ever used that for. And there was a lot of stress because my husband was against homeschooling, and he had pretty much said that if I could teach her to read, he'd let me homeschool. That was kind of our stipulation. He's supportive of it now, but at the time he was like, eh. So I pushed her so hard. And when I remember there were so many days with tears. And when I pulled that program out a couple years later for Kristen, and I saw the pin marks, like, sir, and I remember that. And I remember you know what I mean? Like those moments that you don't want to repeat,
Yes.
but you have that fear that you're not going to teach them what they need and you're not going to do it right. And I think that you learn from each kid. And so then I was completely way more relaxed with each child after that. But our oldest kids, those poor kids are our guinea pigs. They really, really are. But I think the longer you do it, you trust yourself more. And I think you also focus more on those relationships because you realize that homeschooling should not be stressful. It should not lead our kids to tears. It should not be something that we dread each and every day. It should be something that we're thankful that we're able to do and blessed to be able to do, and not just I don't know, look at it as a drudgery. Is that the
Right.
right word I'm thinking of?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So the next question is, how do you find joy in your homeschool day?
So I find joy just in the observations, just in being with my kids. And to be completely transparent, each day is not joyful. There are some that I'm like, where is that school bus? But for the most part, it's in watching them enjoy the things that they're doing. Perfect example. Today was actually a really great day. I was telling you earlier that, I'm not feeling great. I'm coming off of a very busy season and some traveling, and I've been sick and I've been short-tempered and I've been tired, and I get up in the morning and I doze back off on the couch with the chaos all around me. But I did that too today. I dozed off a little bit. But my 5-year-old, not that long ago, actually, for some reason, he just asked me if he could study praying mantises. He wanted to learn about praying mantises. I don't know if he had seen one in a book that we were reading or something, but something struck his fancy about praying mantises. We might have been talking about spring animals and things like that. And I've raised egg cases. You could buy them with insect lure, which is actually who we just bought them with. But I've also just bought them from like gardening supply stores, and because they're beneficial insects, so you can get them at a variety of different places online. And I've done them with all of the kids, and I've done them with my classrooms in the past. And he didn't remember. I think the last time we had an ootheke, that is the term. So tell your science-hating daughter that a praying mantis is egg case is an ootheke. But he doesn't remember. I think he was 2 the last time we had praying mantises like hatching on our kitchen table. And so I told him I'd get him one. And I ordered an insect lure set because the net that we had in the past was like ragged, and I just wanted him to have something brand new. And so he watched, we subscribed to Curiosity Stream, which is a curated service for documentaries, and it's like $2.99 a month. It's like the best homeschool material I buy because it's so stupid cheap. And they have documentaries on all manner of things, from like Nova and BBC and some Discovery Channel ones, down to ones that were just created by the people who have created the platform. And I think the people who created the platform worked once for Discovery and BBC, so they're they know what they're doing in the industry. But there are these series of short documentaries that are anywhere between like 2.5 and like 5 minutes long about single species. And so he watched, after he told me this a couple weeks ago, he watched the praying mantis one, and he has been since just talking about them nonstop. So he knew his praying mantis egg case kit was coming today, and was just beside himself from early on, and he sat down and watched several like old, like 70s and 80s documentaries that we found on YouTube about praying mantises. So like not great cinematography. And here's this little 5-year-old like eating up this information about praying mantises. And he was at that door when the UPS truck pulled up. Aww. And beeped its little horn, because it always beeps when it pulls up in front of our house. And he went running out there and he greeted him at the sidewalk and came running up to the house, hugging this box with praying mantis eggs in it. And was just so excited about that, and about the little life cycle, because I bought him the full kit, so he had his own thing, even though we've like had and lost these life cycle toys a million times. So it has like, the little plastic parts that have the egg case and the toy mantis and everything. And he went to bed telling my husband about when that egg case was delivered and how many weeks it's going to take, and all of the stuff. And it's so amazing to be able to be the one to witness that excitement, and to be able to like spend $25 and just make him light up about learning something. It doesn't cost a ton, and it means so much. And he's going to remember this year because he's driven about it, and the other kids are excited again because they're seeing his excitement. So I think that that's how I find joy. I try to find those moments that light the kids up, so I remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then there's also like the chocolate that I have hidden throughout the house.
Everybody has to have the chocolate.
Right, exactly.
It's the one thing that gets that, and people say coffee, which I don't drink coffee, but is the things that, get us through the day, through the day.
Exactly.
But I love that. So that the praying mantis, is that we did the butterflies and we did the ants. Our ants never lived. We could never do the ants, but I love the butterflies. But I've never seen the praying mantis.
Oh,
So that's like a real thing.
It's really cool. It's actually really cool. I mean, it's creepy too. And the first time you raise them, the first time I raised them was in a classroom, and it's creepy because so you get this, like, the egg case looks like a piece of foam, really, because that's what they do. They lay this egg case that is this it's like this white foamy stuff around a branch, and it hardens around the branch, so it withstands all the seasons, because they lay it in late summer and it overwinters with the eggs in the case. And then as the temperatures start to warm, it becomes, not dormant anymore. And then the eggs inside start to develop, and the praying mantises start to get ready to hatch. And when they hatch, they come out of like a slit in the foam. And there can be anywhere between like 30 and 150 little teeny tiny, almost see-through, perfectly formed mantises.
Oh my goodness.
And they come out, and within the first day, they double and triple in size, and they turn into their brown color. They're like almost translucent when they come out. So it's very creepy when they first come out, because there's a gajillion little teeny tiny things crawling in this net that you have them in. So make sure you have them in a net, which is why it's worth buying the kit the first time you raise them, because the kit comes with a net that has a fine enough mesh they can't get out of. But then, and if you read about them, I mean, insect lore is like, okay, they've hatched, go release them. I've had other kits, like through biological supply companies, because again, I taught, where they tell you if you want to observe them for a few days, which is very cool, then you need to get a vial of flightless fruit flies, because they're carnivores. So flightless fruit flies are like, they're tiny fruit flies, but they are bred so they can't fly away. So you're not going to end up with like fruit flies all over your kitchen. But so if you drop those in there, they'll prey on those, and they won't eat each other.
My goodness.
And so, but it's cool. Like if you can raise them for a couple days, and then they're big enough to like go, they're perfectly docile. Like praying mantises, their mandibles are totally incapable of biting humans. Even fully grown, they can't get their mouths around you to bite you. So even if you find one in the wild that's several inches long, you can pick them up and have them crawl over you, because they can't bite, they can't hurt you. All they are going to do is eat aphids and other insects, and so they're beneficial in your garden. So you can let them out, like let all but like 4 or 5 of them out, and then feed them flightless fruit flies, and you can watch them get bigger and bigger, and they get big pretty quickly. And then you can let a couple more go, and then keep 1 or 2 and observe them for a while. And they're actually really easy to care for in the house once they're too big to go through the mesh of a regular aquarium. And they're cool. They're really, really a cool insect, because they're so hardy and they're big that kids can handle them without any fear. And I like them as a former teacher who had them in the classroom. One of the reasons I really liked them was because they were an easy way to get kids over their fear of creepy crawlies if they were afraid of them. And so it kind of demystified the whole like bug thing for some kids who are afraid of bugs.
Okay, so it may get me over my fear of, because I'm like seriously over here like cringing. Like you can't see me, but I'm like oh my goodness.
It may not get you over your fear, because you're a little older than your kids, so you've got like many years of ingrained fears. But if your kids are doing the handling and following the directions, then they're not going to be doing anything to you, and you don't ever actually have to touch them, because even if you don't want to raise them after they've hatched, which it's really cool to watch at least one time in your life.
Well, yeah, it sounds really cool, and I think the kids would love that. Kristen and Daniel would get a kick out of that. Allison would be like cringing in the other room with me.
Yeah, Molly will not be in our kitchen when they hatch. She does not enjoy that. In fact, she has told me many times, a couple times recently, that I will be a real author when I stop writing about bugs. So for those who are listening and are like, what? I write books about science and nature for kids. So like it totally is the antithesis of what Molly would like me to be doing as a career. And so she won't do much with the bugs, but everybody else really loves them. And what's great is they can get the experience and see something really, really unique. That gives them an appreciation of nature. And then if you don't want to actually like deal with flightless fruit flies and everything, you can do what the kit says and go shake the enclosure out into your garden, and they'll eat all the bugs on your plants for the rest of the summer, and you won't ever have to do anything, and you don't have to actually touch them if you don't want to, because you can just shake them out into the plants.
Yeah, I think the kids would love that. I'm going to write that down, and if I get it, I will let you know. So are you sharing your praying mantis journey on Instagram?
Well, I did today, actually, because it was so sweet the way he was watching it all and everything. So in my Instagram stories today, I had shared some pictures, but I'm sure that we will. It's going to be pretty boring to share for the next couple of weeks because it's really just an egg case sitting on a plastic plant. But yeah, we'll share some stuff. And I actually, if you end up getting it, email me, because I've taught it so many times. I probably have some like printables on in my files,
Yes.
and I know that at one point, like when I thought I was going to be a printable maker, I had made a praying mantis lifestyle, like life cycle printable that I can send over to you to have Daniel color in and stuff.
Oh yeah, I think he would love it. And your son sounds like Kristen. Whenever we went to Great Homeschool Conventions, she bought a dissection kit. Like she was so excited about it. She was like carrying that, like loved that stinking dissection kit, and it's got like a crayfish, and you know which one I'm talking about, like the big one. Yeah, she's so excited to like dissect all these animals. Like
it's so fun.
She loves science, loves it.
I'm hoping that he gets to be like that, because while my oldest likes science a lot and loves life science, he does not have the stomach for, with his anxiety, any kind of dissection of any sort. And so he made me promise that I would not have him do any dissections. And so we do virtual dissections with him. And my 10-year-old is absolutely not going to want to do anything like that. And the 8-year-old has generalized anxiety disorder, so she may not be able to do it. Plus, she's a huge animal lover. She might be okay when she gets a little bit older. So I'm kind of waiting to see. But I think that the 5-year-old is going to be my kid who I can do all that biology stuff with. So we'll see.
Kristen's a huge animal lover, but because she wants to study veterinary science, she also really enjoys the dissection. She's done a snake. And the owl pellets, of course, but her and her dad dissected a snake, like, and she loved it. She loved every bit of it. I made them do it outside. They were not allowed to do it in the house.
That's funny.
Like, I didn't even bring the dead snake box in the house. I'm like, take it straight to the building. And it came. Don't bring it in my house. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would probably be too.
Yeah. Well, that was a nice tangent there. So
yeah. You didn't know this was going to be about science and dissections and praying mantises crawling around your kitchen, did you?
Totally didn't, but it's okay. Okay, so is there anything else you would like to share with everybody about your homeschool struggles and joys and all that fun stuff?
No, I think that your listeners' ears are probably like ringing, or they're cringing and trying to like see how quickly they can get in the shower to like wash off the sensation of bugs crawling all over them.
Well, you do have a bug book or a science book. Yes, so we can link to that in the show notes.
Yes, 100 backyard activities that are the dirtiest, coolest, creepy crawliest ever.
Creepy crawliest.
It's a lot of fun. That's actually a lot of fun. That was a project that the kids and I all did together. So
yeah, that'll be a great thing for people to go out and do this summer with their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any of your listeners end up getting it from Amazon, and Amazon's the best place to get it because they always run specials on the books that they get from the book publishers. And Macmillan is the publisher of that, Page Street and Macmillan. So they run specials all the time. I find it on Amazon for like $13 all the time, and it's a $20 book. So if they end up getting it and want to message me through my site, I can send them a signed book plate that they can put in there. So that'd be fun.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so Colleen, can you tell everybody where they can hang out with you on the web?
Yes, absolutely. Best place to find me is raisinglifelonglearners.com. And you can find links to everything there. You can find links to the podcast. You can search, any of your podcast apps for Raising Lifelong Learners. But on the site, you'll find links to the podcast. You'll find links to all my social media and my Facebook groups and all the content that I put out. So that's the best place to find me.
Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting with us, Colleen. This has been so much fun.
Thanks for having me, Misty.
All right, we will talk to you later, dear.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Didn't you guys just love her? I told you that you would. Like I said, she is just a breath of fresh air and so much fun to be around. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. Be sure you head over to Colleen's blog, Raising Lifelong Learners, and check out all of the fun stuff that she has there. And be sure to check out her podcast. Her podcast is so much fun. It is just a peek into the lives of other homeschoolers and just how they learn and how they are raising learners and their kids, how they are encouraging a love of learners and a love of learning in their homeschool. And I just love that. And it is so much fun to listen to other people's kids and what they're learning about and to just kind of get a peek into the window of other homeschool families. So be sure to check that out. You can find it as well as her blog at raisinglifelonglearners.com. So without further ado, we are going to wrap up this episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. And I hope this interview with Colleen encouraged you to head out and have a more joyful homeschool. Thanks, guys. Bye.